Straight tuned into the show where you learn discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. Dre, what is personal initiative? That's the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the psychology of systems. What does that mean? Systems have psychologies? They do now, because I'm going to explain to you exactly what that means, and I'm going to break it down, as usual, which is my specialty here on this show. But before we get into the specific topic, let me inform everybody that I send out a text message every morning free of charge to everybody in my text community. Oh, you didn't know I had a text community? You're about to find out. You're going to learn today. What happens with this message is that you're going to get a message that's going to have you start your day being focused, sharp, and on point. Would you like to receive such a message from me? I mean, if you can listen to this show, why would you not get that message? So here's what you do to get that message. I call it the daily motivation, by the way. You'll know that it's the daily motivation text. It'll have a little hashtag in it that says daily motivation. And all you got to do to get that text is text me at my number right now, which is 305-384-6894. And every morning when that text goes out, you as a member of my texting community shall receive the message. And here's the other thing. You can actually respond to those messages and have a dialogue with me, because I do respond to the messages. I respond to the responses that I get. And the responses won't have a daily motivation hashtag, so you'll know that that's actually me texting you back. And yes, I do actually read my text message and I do actually respond. So text me at that number. It's listed down below in the show notes as well, so you can be part of my texting community. The other thing is Work on Your Game University. That is the place where you go next to work with me. Once you are getting my daily motivation text, you'll listen to this show. You already got both of those boxes checked. The next step is to go deeper with me, and that's where we get into the deep game of the mindset, the strategies, the systems, the executions that you can use for your personal and your professional life to take yourself where you want to be in terms of, if we're talking about your success, your happiness, your achievement, your accountability, your discipline, your confidence, your money making, getting your business where you want to be, serving your clients the way you want to serve them, living the life that you want to live, taking care of yourself and your family and everything else beyond. If any of that sounds like what you're looking for right now, what you need to do is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Right there, we make it real simple. What is the next step for you to take to get to working with me directly? You want to get connected to a group of like-minded individuals. You want to deal with someone like myself who you can talk to on a regular basis, who can help you with your game and with your progress, and make sure that progress is consistent and steady and being held accountable for. All of that happens at Work on Your Game University. Just go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Now, getting into the topic, which is, again, the psychology of systems. Now, definition of a system, by the way, if you forgot, is a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, also known as an organized framework or a method. That's another part of the definition, organized framework or method. There is a mentality behind executing by systems. So that's what we're talking about here today. When you execute with system, there's a mentality behind it, and that's what I'm going to focus on today. Understand that executing by system is not just the process of you following steps. There is a process of following steps. And once you put a system in place and you have other people working for or with you, they will just follow steps, because they're not the ones who created the system. They're not the ones responsible for the system, but you created it and you're responsible for it. And this is the reason why almost all of us have heard about systems, yet so few people actually operate by systems. Why? Because of the mindset challenge is not the following steps challenge. Because if I just gave you 6 steps to follow and just told you to do it and you believed in it, you would probably follow the 6 steps. It's the mindset behind putting the system in place and using the system consistently. That's where people are challenged. This is the reason why people don't do it. And this is why everything I just said is why mindset is the foundation of what we do here at Work on Your Game. If you did not know that, now you know it. That's the foundation of everything that I do. If you come working with me, the very first thing we're going to get into is the mindset behind your actions or your inactions. The things that have worked, the things that have not worked, we're going to get into the mindset of it, because once we get the mindset part in place, building everything else, like the actual action steps, the strategies, what do I do, that stuff is easy when the mindset is in place. Many people come looking for the action steps. What do I do? What do I do next? What's the strategy? Many people come to me looking for that. Very few people come to me and say, Dre, I just need somebody to help me with my mindset. Because most people think that they can just fix their mindset on their own. And there's a lot of mindset material out there, yet very few people have the mindset necessary to achieve the outcomes that they want. So that's kind of like it's an interesting conundrum, right? But the whole point is the steps, the pieces, the what do I do next, the strategy, that's not actually what you need. What you need is the mindset. When the mindset is installed properly, and again, installed properly, the proper mindset is installed properly is the best way to say that, then the steps become easy to put in place. Challenge for many people is you're trying to get the action steps to take, and the action steps that you are looking for or trying to use right now are not even the most accurate and most effective action steps you could be taking. So even if you get quote unquote the right steps, you're still not going to get the outcome that you want because you don't have the right mindset upon which those steps are built. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? If you don't, that's okay. That's the reason why, number one, you're about to get this masterclass about the layout. And number two is why we got Work on Your Game University. So here I'm going to help you understand that I know what I'm talking about, and you understand that I can help you. And then the next thing you're going to do is go to workonyourgameuniversity.com and take the next steps to actually getting that help, because again, I know what I'm doing. All right, this is the reason why you're here. All right, let's get into it. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is the psychology of systems. Number one, systems are designed with probability in mind, not with guarantees in mind. This is a very important understanding about systems. Systems are about probability, not guarantees. So I'll give you an example. In basketball, there was this player named Shane Battier who played in the NBA for several years. He's retired now, but he played, I think when he first came into I first heard of Shane, I think in maybe the late 90s. He was one of the McDonald's All-Americans, one of the players of the year. He came from the state of Michigan. He went and played at Duke University. I believe he played all 4 years at Duke. Went to the NBA, had a 10-plus year career in the NBA, won a couple championships. The most recent team I remember him having a prominent role on was the Miami Heat back when LeBron and Dwayne Wade were there. And he was a member of that team. He was always a role player in the NBA. Shane was never an all-star, never close to being an all-star. He wasn't the guy who scored a ton of points. So if you're not a big basketball fan, you probably have never heard of Shane Battier. But he was in the league. He was on several solid teams. And every team that he was on, that team always did better when Shane played versus when he did not play, even though he was not a superstar player. So how is this? Why did teams always do better when Shane played versus when he didn't play? It's because Shane was what I call a winning player in basketball. Now, your host, person you're listening to right now, I come from the basketball world. I played a lot of basketball with a lot of different players, and not every player who plays is a winning player. And sometimes players who are very skilled, they may be the best, most talented, most skilled player on the court. They are not always winning players. There's a difference between a winning player and what I call, and in sports I call them, not we. I used to call these guys stats players. And I played with a lot of stats players who were very, very skilled, very talented, very good players, but I never really liked playing with them because they were stats players. What's a stats player? A stats player is a player who cares more about their statistical accomplishment than they care about actually helping the team win the game. Shane Battier is the antithesis of that, and that he cared more about winning the game than he cared about his stats. If I could play with a bunch of winning players, I knew my team was going to be much more successful than when I played with a bunch of stats players who had more talent than the winning players. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Shane was a winning player. This is the reason why every team that he played on did better when he played than when he did not play. So what Shane did, he understood that if he executed certain things the right way every time, even though it didn't always work, quote unquote work, meaning it didn't always produce the desired outcome, the probabilities said that if he did it every time, same things the same way every time, where have you heard that before, that in the long run, overall, he would have more successes than he would have failures. That's how a system works. For example, when Shane would guard somebody like Kobe Bryant, now all of you know Kobe Bryant, even if you're not a basketball fan. Shane realized that Kobe shot a higher percentage when he would dribble to his right hand than when Kobe dribbled to his left hand. So Shane would try to force Kobe to go to his left hand where he shot a lower percentage. And even though Kobe would still score points on Shane, as Kobe scored points on everybody, Shane knew that he was playing the probabilities. So instead of letting Kobe go to his right and destroy him and score 100 points, how about we let Kobe, or try to force Kobe to go to his left where he doesn't shoot as high a percentage that makes it worse for his team, the team that Kobe was playing for, which was the Lakers his whole career, and that gives Shane's team a better probability of winning. Understand that Shane's system was not to shut down Kobe or stop Kobe from scoring points. Kobe was going to score points on anybody and everybody. This is why most of you know who Kobe Bryant is, because he scored a whole bunch of points no matter what you did. But Shane had a system for guarding a guy who most people had trouble stopping him from doing anything. So Kobe might score 40 points in a game on Shane Battier, and Shane could look at the game afterwards and say, yes, Kobe had 40 points. However, I executed my system the way that I needed to execute it. That day, it just didn't go so great, because some days Kobe would shoot a higher percentage than usual, even though he was going to his quote-unquote weak side, and he would still make more shots than he normally did. He would defy the probabilities, and Kobe would outplay the probabilities. Now, in the long run, you played against Kobe 100 times, he would shoot about what his average was. But there could be random days where he shot a whole lot better, and some of those days happen to come against Shane Battier. And Shane could say, well, hey, if Kobe made all those shots, then I'm forcing him to a side that's not as strong as the other side. We just got to live with that. That's how it works in probabilities, folks. That day, things just didn't go so great. It's the same thing in marketing. When you run an advertising campaign or you send out a physical mail, you understand that based on the probabilities, if we run this ad, we spend this much money to this audience, we're going to get this many clicks, this many conversions, we're going to make this much money. Doesn't mean that's going to happen every single time. Sometimes it may not work so well. Sometimes it may work better than the probabilities, but overall, everything is going to regress to the mean, as we say. Everything's going to work and average out. It's the same thing. Any of you who works in the financial markets, if you're into trading or stocks and things like that, you understand that you have certain models that you use. These are your systems that you may call them models, financial models that you use when you make decisions about which trades to make and which trades not to make. That if you play the probabilities over the course of 100 of those trades, if you follow your model, your system, that you're going to get this outcome. That does not mean every single time you get the same outcome. Sometimes an outcome works, sometimes an outcome does not work. That's what it means to operate by a system. So when you have a system, you have a general idea of what results to expect from each activity. I knew a professional speaker, for example, who, when he spoke in front of an audience and he was selling something, he had a solid estimate of how much money he would make just based on the number of people in the audience before he started his speech. Now, how is that? Because he had his whole presentation down to a system, and he knew just by the number of heads in the audience that when I give this presentation, based on the system I have in place, this is the percentage of sales that I expect to get. And then he would multiply that percentage by the number of people in the audience. He knew exactly how much money he would make, and usually he was pretty close to that number every single time. That's what it means to have a system in place. You understand you're working on probabilities, not guarantees. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is the psychology of systems. Number 2, the larger the sample size, the higher your confidence in the outcome. In other words, we are talking about data over drama, which I talked about in, let me give you the episode number where I talked about that, because this is something that all of you should understand. That was episode number 2494. Now, we're talking about math, not magic here. Okay? Systems are about math. They are not about magic. And this is not some complicated trigonometry, calculus level math. This is simple algebra, simple math. Is that, and not even algebra. This is like addition and multiplication. The longer you are in any game, the better chances you have of winning. If you have a system, let me be clear. When you are in a game and you have a system, the better chances you will get the outcomes that you have desired to get. So, for example, Shane Battier, I think if you went over his entire career, Kobe Bryant's team probably beat Shane Battier's team more than Shane beat Kobe. But Shane's system was not, my team's going to beat Kobe's team. Shane's system was, I'm going to make Kobe Bryant shoot a lower percentage against me than he shoots against other people. And I don't know what the exact stats are on that, but he probably succeeded. That's his win. So you need to figure out what your win is, because that's the only way you can build a system, because the system needs a desired outcome that you can measure it against. The results you get from a system need to be statistically significant, which means you need to get enough results, enough volume of results for the system to actually produce its desired outcomes. That amount needs to be statistically significant. Again, depends on what you're doing. So I can't give you a specific number, but in different spaces I can get specific when I know exactly what you are trying to do. Most important thing in your system is that your system needs to do the same things the same way every time, which I talked about in episode number 2013. Same things the same way every time. So when I'm talking to an entrepreneur, for example, who's relatively new at their business, especially those of you who are not yet past the 100,000 mark in terms of revenue per year. The biggest challenge is often there are no systems in place. And usually this is the person who may be doing things you're just figuring it out as you go along. You're doing trial and error. You're going off of hard work, no sweat equity, talent. Hopefully you got the right product, the right market, the right timing. And you're not doing anything the same way every time because you don't quite know what you're doing yet. I was the same entrepreneur at one point. And these people make their money basically off of, again, hard work, hustle, talent. Hopefully you have good timing. But as you ascend to a higher level, if you plan on ascending to a higher level, what you need to do is remove yourself so much from the equation and let your systems do more of the work than you are doing. Doesn't mean you stop working. It means you now do what the system says instead of just deciding on your own at random times what to do. You still work the same amount. It's just now you're operating by the system says do this. That's why I'm doing it, as opposed to I just decided to do this and I'm just going to try it out. All right, that should happen as you mature in business. And if you want help with how to do that, again, I told you, work on your game university, which I'll tell you about again at the end of this class. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the psychology of systems. Number 3, the best investment you can make into your long-term success is to plug into a, can anybody guess the word? System that works. It's the best thing you can do for your long-term success. Plug into a system. When you know that the system works, just plug into that, and this is the best thing you can do long-term because you know exactly, let me not say that word. You have a high probability understanding of what you're going to get. That's why you plug into a system that works. Now your question may be, well, Dre, how do I know if a system works if I haven't actually used it yet? I have the answer to that. That's a good question. When you plug into a system that works, first of all, you'll be able to create your own systems off of that system that worked, because by being plugged into a system, you will start to see how you can do the same things for yourself. So I didn't even say it in so many words. Let me say it here. What you do is you plug into a system that already exists, i.e. one that was not created. It does not need to be invented or created by you. All you do is plug the process of that system into what you're doing. You get it? So you can probably use some of the elements of any system that you plug into. So you find someone who already knows how to achieve an outcome, plug into what they're doing. That's what I mean here. And then you can take those elements and you can create your own process using what they do as a foundation for what you're going to do. As a matter of fact, it's guaranteed that that's what you're going to do. And this works on all levels, inside and outside of business. So for example, back in my basketball days, I made this 12-minute video where I showed people a series of dribbling drills that they could do every day to get better at dribbling a basketball. I called it Everyday Dribbling Drills. I actually made 2 versions of it. I made a short version where I just kind of gave people a demo of each drill, and the video was about a minute long. And then years later, maybe 3 years later, I did the full version where I actually did the entire dribbling series, and I put that whole video out, and the video is about 12 minutes long. And as long as people executed that same way every time, they were guaranteed to get better at dribbling in basketball. Now, how could I say they're guaranteed to get better as long as they execute? Because I had already used myself as a litmus test, as proof. I was social proof that these drills worked because I was showing them literally the drills that I did myself every single day. Both of those videos have over 1 million views on YouTube to this very day. And they're still on YouTube. If you want to look them up, you can find them. And to this day, there are probably thousands of players who execute that very system that I showed them over 10 years ago of, if you just follow this process that I've already created, I've already tested it, I've already perfected it, I've already used myself as a guinea pig for the process, you follow this, you will get the outcome, and you don't have to go through all the trial and error like I did. This is what experts do. So any expert out there who's selling their intellectual property or their process, this can be in real estate, this can be in entrepreneurship, it can be in finance, it can be in basketball, it can be in any other area, relationships, anywhere in between. All these people are doing the same thing I just explained. They tested these things out on either themselves or others. They worked out the kinks. They found what actually worked. They shaved off all the stuff that didn't work. Now all they have is what works, and now they're offering it to you, and all you need to do is get access to it, usually with your money. You pay to get access to, I told you the things to pay to get access to: information, access, and assets. And a system is an asset. Why? Because it helps put money in your pocket, because it's producing your desired outcome on a consistent basis, and you can predict that is going to happen. That is an asset. This is why you need systems in place. When you have strong systems in place in your business, you can position your business to sell it. Any of you know anyone who's ever sold a business, or you ever thought about selling a business, or you ever heard anybody talking about it? One of the main things any business that gets sold must have is a system. It must have a process. Here's how the business runs. Why? Because as soon as I don't have it anymore and I pass it off to you, you still had to be able to produce the outcomes that I was producing without me being involved, which means the system is the most important thing, not the human. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? Good. Let's recap today's class, which is the psychology of systems. Definition of a system is a set of principles or procedures according to which something is done, also an organized framework or method. Let's talk about why systems matter more than just the give me the steps and what I need to do. You got to have the psychology in place first, which I'm explaining today. Number one, systems are designed based on probability, not on guarantees. So when you know what the probability is, again, as the more you execute the system, you know you're going to get this outcome. And in different spaces, you can work off probability. Some spaces you want things to be 100% all the time, such as, let's say, flying and landing an airplane. You don't want to have some times that it doesn't work, or you want that to work every time. But based on what you're doing, you understand your system is based on probabilities, and you can put guardrails in place to guard against the worst possible scenarios. But that's what a system is about. Point number two, the larger the sample size, the higher your confidence in the outcome. We call this statistical significance. You need to get more samples, more executions of a process in order to see the overall trend line of where it's going. This is why in business we say it's math, not magic. Again, data over drama. So you need to get the data, look at what exactly is happening here, not what you want to happen, not what you feel is happening, not what you think is happening, not your emotions, but the actual data that is in front of you. And this is, again, this is the mindset of the business person, all right, not the mindset of the random person who's just doing things randomly and hoping that things work. Usually in business, before you get to that $100,000 mark, it's because you're doing things based off of hustle, effort, and talent, which is fine. But if you want to get over that mark and go further, especially if you want to go higher and higher up in your business and you want to bring other people into your business and maybe get to the point where maybe you can offload your business and maybe sell it to somebody else, then you have to have systems in place. And this is not about it, where it's no longer about your effort, hustle, and hard work. It's about the system, not about you. And point number three, the best investment you can make into your long-term success is to plug into systems that work, that have already been created, refined, and perfected by someone else. And all you do is use your money to get access to that system. Understanding that a system is an asset that makes your business and makes your effort worth more, because the asset helps you produce more of your desired outcome. That's what an asset does. So when you know what the most valuable asset is in your business, it should be a system. The most valuable asset in your business should not be a human. It should not be you or one of your staff members or your assistant. It should be the system. Why? Because people can come and go. People get sick. People go on vacation. People get tired. People quit jobs. People get fired from jobs. Systems don't leave. The system is the most valuable mechanism you have in your business, and when you have that, then you have a business that, again, is not 100% dependent on any one individual, which means it can run much more smoothly, and you don't have to be a genius, Superman, Superwoman every day. All you got to do is what the system tells you to do. So with that said, text me and let me know you want to get the daily motivation message every day free of charge to your phone. My number is 305-384-6894. And workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you go. You want help installing a system and a process into your business, all built on the foundation of the mindset, what we call the bulletproof mindset, to help you take your personal and professional life. Because over here at Work On Your Game, we help you with all of that, where it needs to be. Workonyourgameuniversity.com is that link. Work on your game. Dre all day.